like, all right, dipshit, you got migraines. Okay.
Do you mind telling me a little bit more about what you're doing with your Vetivize and your new mission and your new moves?
Yeah, for sure. So Vetivize was spawned out of my transition experience back in 2017. Backing up to 2017, I was getting out at 11 and a half years. Who am I now that I'm not a team guy? I didn't even have these like really kind of existential crisis thoughts. It was really just like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to provide for my family? What kind of man am I going to be? The big old thing that kept on popping in my head was, who am I now? Right. So I just wanted to figure out, like, how do I integrate into the systems that are meant to be for me? So I ended up trying to figure out, like, how do I integrate into the VA, and successfully did that. So, like, my VA disability claim was turned around in 11 days, right? From submission to decision. Whereas
Wow.
at that time, the average VA disability claim was turned around in 181 days. And I got everything that I anticipated down to the percentage points. So I
Wow.
feel like I figured it out, right? I cracked the code. And the reason I cracked the code is because backing up to January of 2016, that's when I started getting to work. So I knew I was getting out January 2017. January 2016 came around. I was like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I integrate into the VA? And I'm probably going to say this, and you'd be like, that was me. I heard this too. So I just went to the older guys that were already out. I was working at N3X. So in level 2 course, that's
Okay.
where I was teaching in San Diego. And I had a bunch of contractors that were prior team guys that were working there, retired guys. And I was like, hey guys, what do I have to do to get into the VA? Like, you guys are already in there. Like, what do I do? And I even talked to like medics and stuff. And each one of them gave me like a different answer. None of them were aligned. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, why does it feel like I'm the first guy to ever get out of the Navy? This doesn't make any sense. They've been around 200 years, and it feels like it's year one, and I'm the first dude to get out. So I ended up taking their information, throwing it to the side, and I just went to the root source of the information. Ended up reading 2 very long, boring documents that the VA uses as operations manuals, and then what they use to rate individual conditions. It's called the CFR 38. Unfortunately, not many veterans know about the CFR 38. It's an open source document. You can search it now at ecfr.gov. But at the time, I don't know if you remember this, there was a website called eBenefits. And eBenefits, like, you would go into ebenefits.va.gov, and then you would search the CFR 38, and there was a bunch of Word documents that you would have to download and then read page by page. And you had to have like a medical background to be able to decipher, like, all right, I have a left shoulder condition, right? From that O course incident. I got that left shoulder condition that was made worse in Iraq, right? So, like, I know that this is service connected. Where do I find it in CFR 38? So then I had to look on musculoskeletal injuries that were in the CFR 38. Anyway, long story short, I figured it out. I created a process, like in the teams, plan your dive your plan, right? And I was diving my plan, and it worked effectively. So then January comes around, 2017, I get what's owed to me. And then for the next 4 or 5 years, I just ended up helping out 7,000 veterans do that exact same process. So then 2021 comes around, and it's like the dawn of AI. I was like, man, I keep having these same conversations over and over and over and over again. This really seems like I have a process. We've got this new technology. Let's see if we can build an AI model that replicates this process. So we did that, and it functionally works. It successfully was built, started a business. The overarching, so like our motto, our ethos at Vetivize is do good for good, right? So like, that's all we're about. How do we do as much good for the right reasons as possible? And our do good for good motto centers around the veteran community. We don't want to be the arbiters of truth. We want to be the conduit between whatever good stuff's out there and the veteran. So, like, we're both aware there's so much good stuff out there for our veteran community, both at the federal, state, and nonprofit levels. It's just disorganized and decentralized, right? There's over 40,000 registered nonprofits. What if you had an automatic connection between you and whatever nonprofit is directly applicable to you. First, starting at, well, let's get you integrated into the VA. After you're integrated into the VA, now let's get you integrated into whatever state benefits are applicable to your family and you. And then nonprofit benefits are directly applicable to your family and you through the use of automation and artificial intelligence, all that we have proprietarily patented. And it works, right? So the best part, it works. It works at scale, and we're ready to go and grow. So the dawn of Vetivize came from my own transition experience and me not wanting to hoard the answers, right? So like there's so much good out there. We just need our community to get engaged with it. So how do I get them to engage? Well, build a product, have that product available to the veteran community. Our business model is simple. We work as hard as we can to attempt not to charge veterans anything to gain access to our product. So we work with nonprofits and then also for-profit institutions. For-profit institutions like businesses and cities, counties, sheriff's departments, they pay for Vetivize as an HR retention and an HR recruitment tool for their current and prospective veteran employees. It's an HR benefit for their veteran employees. And it's awesome, right? And then the second one is the nonprofit community that's out there, the 40,000 registered nonprofits that raise money for our community and raise 5 billion with a B every year for the veteran community. That's a whole lot
That
of money. On top
yeah,
of that's how much they
those are
raise.
staggering figures.
Yeah. On top of that, they all are a lot of the big ones out there have investment accounts that accrue interest every year in their investments. Well, stop hoarding that money. Let's get you a direct access. So, and this is another thing like we're trying to focus on is I think that and this is just my opinion, it's very much supported by a lot of other veterans that I talk to. I think that the nonprofit community that's out there is doing a great job. They are doing an absolutely stellar job. Their target focus, unfortunately, is on the donor population, right? So, like, they serve the donor population because that's who sends them money to be able to effectively service the veteran community. My argument is let's service the veteran community as highly competently and efficiently as possible. And as a result, the donors will directly come aligned to you. So the good can get better and the bad can get better or go away.
Those are excellent philosophy points for sure. Because wrong, right, or indifferent, I know you've heard stories. I know my personal experience was I fell through the cracks. Literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. I was not anticipating on transitioning when I did. I came back from my 7th deployment. By this point, I was in the reserve, so I went active duty to reserve after 5 deployments.
Uh-huh.
Ended up being a buds instructor, so I was the new generation's instructor Ames. I
Yeah.
was the medic out there on the San Clemente Island that I treated people who dislocated their shoulders on the O course. I stitched people up, you know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
was kind of my role as a contractor, and then I also did a couple deployments with the reserves. Plan on putting in my officer package, all that, right? So, like, I was on the trajectory to continue the career, just picked up chief. I had happened to have just done, like, the out processing from active duty back to the reserves, trying to get my medical stuff squared away, and COVID hits. Everyone loses their mind during COVID, and nobody knows what to do. I'm plugged back in with my casualty care guy who helped me whenever I needed my shoulder surgery because I screwed up my shoulder I got an AC separation, very similar to sounding like yours, slap tear. They had to take off an inch of my bicep tendon, do a good cleanup, right? So that was my first trying to transition out of the Navy and into the reserves. Oh, well, you did a second deployment to Afghanistan right after injuring that shoulder, thinking I was okay, thinking I rehabbed it. You know how we do. We always push
Yeah,
ourselves. We're
dude.
always like, avoid medical, try to self-treat, try to just get back in the game. That's all that we want to do is we want to deploy. That's what they trained us to do. And a good team guy, that's where their mind should be. And so I got connected back with him again, but because everything was so chaotic during the COVID time and because I kind of went into crisis, I hit my wall. You know what I mean? Like, hey, a lot of people say that they go to buds, they become a SEAL so they can find their limits, so they can push themselves to see if they can perform as part of the elite team or whatever and just see how far they can go. Hey, I found where my body shut down.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to how you were saying. You found where you were just staying up way too late in Iraq and like things just got freaking weird.
Yeah.
Very similar on my end. Like I couldn't sleep and my whole body was breaking down. I had bird bones, everything was breaking. It was just crazy. And even though the resources were there, and even though I had a good support network and I had friends and family and teammates and team guys and the Navy SEAL Foundation, like, hey, all these people, they were great. But finding that specific integration in the midst of all of that chaos was very problematic. And that is what I really love about what you're doing now in this new chapter, in this new phase of your life, is you're literally providing that perfect roadmap that I wish I had, that I wish anybody who's transitioning out has. And you put the time in, you built it, you optimized it, and you're doing it for all the right reasons. Do good for good. And I absolutely love hearing that. Do you mind kind of walking us through a little bit more of your interface or your onboarding process or whatever it is, so that anybody who's listening to this that might relate to that story or might be thinking about their upcoming transition and want to avoid the pitfalls I fell into, how they can integrate with you, streamline those processes, and avoid a lot of that bad?
Yeah, for sure, man. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that you went through what you went through, and then, like you didn't integrate into the VA as seamlessly as I did. I hear the story time after time after time, right? I'm like, I have heard so many horror stories about the VA. It's like, oh, they're out to get me. Oh, they're terrible. I'm like, dude, I've never had a bad experience at the VA. Now,
That's awesome.
in
I love to hear that.
comparison, I go to the VA and tell them, this is how I need you to help me. And they just say, okay, right? I don't go there asking, how can you help me? I tell them, I need you to do this, then I need you to do that, and I need you to do this. So I think having that perspective changes the customer experience at the VA tremendously. And then enabling the incredible people at the VA to just provide support to you, however that is. So the way that our platform works is you go through a little onboarding, and I'll share that the Vetivize experience is not just aimed at veterans engaging with the VA for the first time in their active duty career, right? So like that transition period. I'll share this, right? So like there's this program called the Benefits Disability at Discharge Program, BDD. Have you ever heard of that, Brent?
Uh, if I have,
Very few have. Yeah,
it's
dude.
gone
It is
through
just terrible.
through that brain.
Yeah. So like this is again that the referent knowledge has to go away, and you just need to be directly connected to the truth all the time. So the Benefits Disability at Discharge program prioritizes VA disability claims for anybody that's active duty in transition. You have to submit your VA disability claim 6 months prior to your EAOS, no earlier than 6 months, no later than, I believe, 30 days prior to EAOS or 60 days. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you submit your VA disability claim, and your disability claim gets prioritized. You go through all your CMP exams, compensation and pension exams, while you're active duty. And then the last thing you do upon transition is you submit your DD 214. Once the VA has that, they can make all of their definitive decisions. So our technology and our product and our process is for everybody who's active duty, right? Even if you're like, I've got 5 years before I transition out, Vetivice is still going to provide tremendous value to you, because there's a lot of times what you were talking about there where it's like, well, I got this problem, but I've been self-medicating. I haven't been reporting. I haven't been seeking treatment. I haven't been getting diagnoses. Vetivice holds your hand throughout that entire process. A way I like to kind of describe our product experience is we have our veteran community that's sitting at the base of the mountain, and that base of the mountain is Mount Everest. So you're looking all the way at the top of the mountain. You're like, dude, I've never even been hiking before. How the fuck am I supposed to get up there? Right? I don't even know if I'm wearing the right shoes. So
Right.
2/3 of our veteran community don't even take the first step. 2/3 throughout
Wow.
their entire life. 2/3 do not touch the VA system. 1/3 of our veteran population does. And unfortunately, a majority of those people take that first step upon retirement. Not retirement out of active duty, but retirement into their 65 years of age or 70 years of age, wherever they
Wow.
choose to retire. And the VA knows this too. So I'll share this with you. This is not necessarily going to be like a shock to you or anything. It's just the VA created this document right here, Journey of a Veteran Map. And in it, you can see that it's the entire lifespan of a veteran from joining the military all the way through to death, right?
Hmm.
And in it, it highlights retirement. It's probably going to read backwards, but they even call it out right here. They say that the VA, upon retirement, moments that matter. Veterans seek supplemental coverage to fill healthcare coverage gaps caused by insurance changes during retirement. Some veterans re-engage or engage with the VA for the first time at this moment. So they know that it's a
Wow.
customer process experience problem. They just don't know how to solve it, right? So that's what we're
Uh-huh.
doing. We're solving it from a customer service experience perspective so that our veteran community can easily transition into that platform, which is intended to serve them for the rest of their life. Whether that be they got out at 25 years old, or they got out at 60 years old, or they're engaging the VA for the first time at 80 years old. Vetivize is still going to provide tremendous value to you even if you are a veteran that's 100% total and permanently disabled. Vetivi still provides tremendous value to you because I don't know if you're like me, but I'm pretty sure you are. We've been hit in the head way too many times. So if you ask
Thanks.
us, let's say you got 15 conditions that you're managing that are service connected, and you talk to me on a good day about my back, right? And I'm in my annual appointment at the VA, and they're asking me, like, how's your back doing? And I'm like, oh, it's a pretty good day. Yeah, my back's good. Well, what if 3 out of the last 4 quarters, my back condition was so bad that it was affecting my ability to sleep throughout the night, my ability to exercise effectively and efficiently, and my ability to even
Mhm.
tie my shoes? But if I don't write that
Mhm.
stuff down, how am I ever supposed to remember it? Because, like I said, I've been hit in the head way too many times. So,
Uh-huh.
Vetivize provides that documentation process as you integrate with Vetivize through our head to toe assessment. You will then be able to get a clear, basically like a timestamp. Brent, this is how you're doing right now. And let's measure you again in 3 months. This is how you're doing right now. This is how you're doing. So that when you go to your
That's
annual
awesome.
appointment in or out of the VA at your primary care doctor, instead of them asking you how you're doing with all these different conditions, you can hand them an automated AI generated report that summarizes how Brent has been over the last 12 months. So that way you don't have to use your memory anymore, right? So again,
Yeah,
if you're
that's
100%
awesome.
total and permanently disabled, Vetivice provides tremendous value. If you've never engaged with the VA ever, right? And it's been 20 years since you've been out of the military, 30, 40 years since you've been out of the military, Vetivice provides tremendous value. Even if you are active duty and you're thinking about getting out one day, which, as you and I both know, plan your out will plan you, right? You
Mhm.
never know when your ticket's going to get punched from your active duty job. So, like, either you start getting to work or you're going to really resent it and regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually you're going to be like, shit, I messed this up, right? So, like, now you
Yep,
can
it'll catch
fix
up
all
to you.
that. Yeah. So, Vetivize provides tremendous value to the active duty community in an effort to get things documented that we may not understand we need to get documented. Two things, right? I'm going to highlight two specific health considerations that a lot of veterans don't even think about that I think all of us deal with. One of them is migraines, and the second one is irritable bowel syndrome, right? So after helping out over 7,000 veterans go through this process, I would ask them, like, hey, do you have migraines? And they say, no. I'm like, do you know what migraines are? Not really, but I don't think I have them. Then I would ask them, all right, well, do you ever get headaches really bad and light gets really bright and noises get really loud? And they're like, oh, yeah, about twice a month. I'm like, okay, cool. So do those headaches ever get so bad that they actually make you nauseous? Or maybe sometimes you actually throw up. And they're like, well, yeah, probably that happens about 2 or 3 times a year. I'm like, all right, dipshit, you got migraines. Okay. But unfortunately, they don't have the medical background that we do from 18 Delta, right? And our medical background from the teams, they don't have that background. So we have created a system that gives veterans the words to use that they didn't even realize they should be using as they're seeking these diagnoses. Also, more importantly, the words that they use are going to be directly aligned with the VA's rating guidelines, unbeknownst to the veteran. So that way we give the VA everything they need to just say yes. The second one is IBS, right? Same thing, right? I talk to veterans. I'm like, hey, do you have IBS? No. Do you know what IBS is? No. All right. Why'd you just say no? Why don't you just say, I don't know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk to them like, all right, do you have irritable bowel syndrome? No. All right. Okay, cool. So does your stomach hurt all the time? Do you eat certain foods and it makes your stomach very upset? Do you feel like you have an acid taste in the back of your throat all the time? Do you avoid coffee altogether? Do you avoid caffeine altogether? Do you avoid certain foods because you know that that's going to make your stomach really upset? So much so that it might actually make you vomit or give you diarrhea, right? So, like, go through this whole list. And then eventually, by the end of it, they're like, yep, I've been dealing with that for the last 10, 20, 30 years. What is one of the causes for IBS? overconsumption of NSAIDs, right? So we all get prescribed NSAIDs while we're active duty like they're candy, and
Take
very
this
few of
Motrin,
us.
change your shocks, drink
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
I did my
So
medic jab today. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we get the Motrin, vitamin M, we get that bad boy, and we don't take it the right way in general in the veteran community, active duty community included. We just take it raw dog, right? Like you just take it with no food, and that ends up ruining your stomach lining and ruining your intestinal fortitude, and it just crushes everything in your stomach. Well, again, if veterans don't know that they've changed over the, so it's like the what's that other phrase, like a frog doesn't realize it's getting boiled in the pot because it's been heating up over weeks, days,
Yeah,
or months
just
because
so
it's incrementally
incrementally
getting
heating up.
hotter.
Yeah.
It's just the way
Mhm.
you normally live now, right? Like my stomach is always supposed to hurt. These headaches are always supposed to be there. This shoulder's always supposed to hurt. My feet are always supposed to kill me. I'm always supposed to be on edge when I go in the public because somebody's out to get me. Oh, they're not. Nobody gives a shit about you. I promise. you
Right,
know,
yeah.
but like we
They're in
get
their own head doing their own
indoctrinated.
thing, living their own life,
Yeah,
trying to get through
yeah.
their own storms.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vetivize is an attempt to get veterans directly connected to whatever federal, state, and nonprofit benefits are directly applicable to them. Um, Currently, we have the federal process in launch. We're working on the state and nonprofit right now. So that'll get launched in the next handful of months. But yeah, it's all using the same level technology. So you go through your onboarding, you identify, am I active duty? Am I a veteran? Whatever you are. And then from there, you start answering questions, right, about your experience. I'll share also that our product is made for us, so much so that a lot of us deal with traumatic brain injuries. So there's great
Nice.
research out there that shows that those of us that deal with traumatic brain injuries, when we try to read things, you'll have to read it 4 or 5 or 6 times, and then you'll retain a little bit of it, right, after that fifth or sixth time. Now, if we follow along what is being read to us, retention goes up immediately. So we have an avatar that you pick, right? The avatar that I picked looks like my wife. So I get to see my wife, even though I don't get to see her sometimes, right? When I'm engaging with Vetivize, I see her and she's talking to me. I'm like, wow, that lady's pretty. I like this. She
Yeah.
talks me through the
I made good
script.
choices.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it talks to you, it guides you through the entire experience, holds your hand, and then you have never an end to the product experience. It's a cycle. So you go through, and then if you so choose to submit a VA disability claim, not only are you going to submit something that the VA has essentially no reason to say no to, they just have to say yes to everything because everything is legitimate and you have everything documented the way that they want to read, right? And you didn't write anything. It's all used automated AI generated words through our platform. Not only have you provided that to them, but now you have, like I said, that timestamp. This is how I'm doing right now, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Do it again in a quarter, again in a quarter, again in a quarter. In between those interactions, you're going to be made aware of these different great resources that are out there, these nonprofit benefits that are out there for you, state benefits that are out there for you. And then, there's so much good out there for us. Like I said, it's all decentralized and disorganized. We're attempting to centralize, organize, and automate it so that way you don't have to do, let's say, that, of those 40,000 nonprofits that are out there, 1,000 of them are raising money specifically for a veteran like you, Brent, right? Now, does that mean you got to do 1,000 applications? Hell no, dude. Not only in our plan will you directly get connected to the nonprofit, but there's not going to be an application because we become the matchmaking service between you and the veteran nonprofit that is attempting to serve you. And you'll be given a customer service voice. Think of like rating like a Yelp experience. You know what I mean? Like I go through an
Mhm.
experience at nonprofit X that I got directly connected with, and now I get to rate them, so give them a 5 star because they were absolutely awesome. Record a little video, have that video sent to the nonprofit so that way they can use that testimonial to share with their donor population. Now we've automated the customer service experience from their perspective to their donors. They don't have to reach out anymore. They don't have to do that. So listen, dude, it's awesome. I am biased though, because we built it and I've got a great team that helps me make sure that this technology functionally works and is, practically applicable, and super proud of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, all the stuff that you're saying is just like huge value. It's clear that you've done your homework, right? So you mentioned it early on in the episode. Plan your dive, dive your plan. That is such an instrumental part of success. So you did that throughout your life. You also did that during your transition. You planned out that VA transition. You talked to experts, talked to people who'd been there, done that. You synthesized that advice. You put in your claim and you got it responded to and approved within 11 days.
Yep.
So you have functionally proved that proof of concept, right? And you've made this Yelp for heroes. And you mentioned 40,000 veteran nonprofits. 40,000. That's a huge amount. And I know that you've done like a lot of AI automation. So we know that trust is currency, right? And you've kind of full looped that by allowing you to give that honest feedback. But how do you vet them before they get entered into your Vetivize system? How do you ensure that a vet that is on your platform isn't walking into a scam or a waste of
Ah,
their time by maybe not being linked up with the right resource that they actually need?
yeah, so that again, that all comes into our automation workflow.